Could you imagine growing up in a world where Uncle Buck was played by Danny DeVito, Tom Hanks, Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise? These were just some of the names thrown into the hat for consideration when John Hughes was deciding who would, or even could, play Uncle Buck. Of course, we know the right choice, as we are the lucky inhabitants of this universe. The one that saw everyone's favorite uncle, Buck, brought to life by America's arguably greatest Canadian import, John Candy. Yeah, I know, this movie's been reviewed before, so I don't want to go over it just like any of your structured YouTube essay movie reviews out there. Instead, having just seen Uncle Buck for the first time officially, I just wanted to sit here and talk with you all about what I really liked and loved in this movie. First off, we gotta start here. Could you imagine John Candy making breakfast for you? A man doesn't get that big in size and spirit wasting time with easy breakfasts. You know, I don't care if that pancake looks like it has enough carbs to fuel Chicago for a week. I would eat that.
Hungry?
No.
Oh, come on, sure you are. Everybody loves breakfast. You gotta have a good breakfast. Start the day off right.
Okay, now that we've eaten, we're all well fed, let's talk about what we gathered here to discuss. Uncle Buck. He's a freewheeling, jobless bachelor who makes his way in the world by making exceedingly prescient bets at the racetrack. He's also dating a pretty cute chick who he's yet to make a happy woman because he's insane, I guess. Anyway, one night Uncle Buck gets a life-changing call. His sister-in-law's father has had a heart attack. Oof. So if it's no big deal, could he watch the nieces and nephew for a week while they go and check in on him? Ugh, there's the rub. Hey, but you know what, Uncle Buck? He's a good guy. He obliges, he arrives in style, and he starts to learn what it actually takes to raise kids and be responsible to someone other than himself or his, treasured golf clubs.
Hey, I stopped smoking cigarettes.
Oh, good.
Isn't that something? I'm on to cigars now. Yeah, I'm onto a 5-year plan. I eliminated the cigarettes, then I go to cigars, then I go to pipes, then I go to chewing tobacco, then I'm onto that nicotine gum.
Good.
Yeah.
Over the family's time together, Buck deals with the kids, their habits, their happenings, their hormones, gives his best in trying to maintain the house, and does it all with an affable style and candor that is 100% John Candy at his purest. Candy's delivery of lines here in this movie it's brilliant. His dialogue is rich and friendly in parts, cold and hilariously menacing in others.
Call me.
You ever hear of a tuna?
You ever hear of a ritual killing?
I don't get it.
You know on her face in public like that again and you'll be one.
It strikes me that, if not for being Canadian, John Candy could have been a pretty good president in the United States of the 2020s. And would that be so bad? Buck versus Joe, who would you want to be your uncle? It would certainly have to be better than who we've had in there recently, right? Back to the movie. This isn't the sort of story where a character, starts out kind of like a smiley scumbag and then finds a hard or, a dumb idiot that finds a place in the world after being useful to some smarter people. No. Uncle Buck is Uncle Buck the whole way through this film. It's great. He regrets a few things, he fixes a few flaws, but it's done in a believable way without making anyone really change their ways in the huge, unbelievable twist. No ghosts have to show up and scare Uncle Buck into being caring. He simply persists in the world he's in, he accepts blame when it is his, and he listens to others and dishes out his own advice when it's appropriate. Speaking of other things that I appreciate in this movie, did you notice those scenes of Buck rambling around in that car through the woods? Yeah, that reminds me a lot of another 1989 movie with a car blasting through forest with lots of leaves. Batman? Am I crazy on that? It reminds me of Batman. It's kind of weird. But it's not bad weird, it's cool. And while I'm talking about other movies, how about one that John Hughes actually was involved with and wrote? Okay, Macaulay Culkin is in Uncle Buck. He's camped out in front of the mail slot, guarding the house at the front door, or having to be the man and take care of dishes and basically grow up overnight. It's Home Alone. It's totally Home Alone. It just smacks of Kevin McAllister just a couple years later before all that happened, right? This could be the prequel. Is Uncle Buck a Home Alone prequel? Well, in any case, bravo, Mr. Culkin. It was a great performance. I really enjoyed it. Dude, imagine if in Home Alone, instead of that old hobo showing up, it was freaking Uncle Buck with the drill showing up to take care of the wet bandits. That would be awesome. Oh my god. Something else really cool about this movie is how it's not a dopey comedy. Somehow we have head trauma, bratty kids, clowns, even Macaulay Culkin in this movie. But it almost feels like it's not just a comedy, but a serious movie. I mean, it doesn't feel like it is, but it's as serious as your real life is, with some characters being believably sardonic and salty, versus, something like an over-the-top production with ridiculous characters that are more walking jokes and humans. I wasn't annoyed by anyone in this movie. I understood everyone because they were human. Even Tia, the teenager, with her cold, deadly stares and generalized hatred of everyone in her life, was completely understandable. Her situation in the movie is the main plot here, really. Uncle Buck has to figure out how not just prevent her from making decisions with her boyfriend that she can't take back easily, like teen pregnancy, but he also has to figure out just how to make her smile at him. This is the crux of the movie, and it's where everything succeeds in particular, in my opinion. I really was interested in how Buck doesn't try to control her, like telling her to get into a car when he finds her outdoors necking with her boyfriend. Nah. He simply says, hey, you can do as you please, but there's going to be repercussions, and they're not going to come from me. It's an effective and realistic approach to parenting, I think. Giving Tia the ability to feel that she's making her own decisions, but she's also going to be cleaning up her own messes. This is also kind of a demonstration of the character Buck's humility. He himself leads a life of little responsibility, so he really can't crack down on Tia without being a hypocrite. But ultimately, Buck also realizes that he has to intervene at some point in Tia's life. He can't be freewheeling all the time. He's got to take control at some point. Everything has a limit. He has to be the barrier of safety that she needs when people like her boyfriend try to take advantage of her emotional vulnerability to obtain that sacred male treasure that we all want, even though we act like we don't: sex. So this is the dilemma of the movie, the crux that I was speaking of. Buck has to hold the house down without crushing the kids under all the drama, pressure, and giant pancakes. How does it pay off? You know what? I'm not going to tell you. Watch the movie and find out. I give Uncle Buck 5 drunk clowns about to get walloped out of 5.
You ever hear of a ritual killing?